I guess I'm introducing. Hi, this is an
I guess
addition.
so.
This in addition to Hong Kong House of Cards. Well, this is pretty much an emergency edition, considering what's all happened. Riker is going is using his formal titles and arraignments now because he's calling a meeting with the lovers and the Buddhist zakva because of what he's seen on his security footages and the fact of what he just had to do. Uh, uh, Making a hard decision made almost impossible. He's making going to the designated meeting place of the almighty 11-year-old to the park. And this is
Yes.
where Riker, which is now using his formal name, Kalathas, is because he's just that pissed. Uh, he's going to the park.
All right. So the Bodhisattva has chosen tra- one of the traditional privately held parks in town because and with shortly after Riker arrives, there's the roar of a motorcycle, and Izumi is dropping off the Bodhisattva and then just hanging out to give him a ride back. He takes his helmet off, and the almighty 11-year-old is in modern day clothing, wearing a baseball cap even.
Oh Lord, he's gonna make Riker have to roll. Uh, and he passes. That he's probably just thinking, oh, either his robes are dirty, or he just doesn't. He just wants to look normal today.
Well, he's out and about in public and not in council chambers, so
Yeah,
an 11-year-old Buddhist monk riding a motorcycle is kind of unusual, but an 11-year-old wearing a baseball cap so you
Yeah.
can't see his shaved head?
not unusual.
It's just
Exactly.
really unlikely to find this in any way, shape, or form weird.
There you go.
People wear different clothes.
Yeah.
Yep. Uh, he has a seat, and he waits. He doesn't say anything until Drew arrives.
Rik-
It won't
Riker
take
will bow when he sees the Buddhist Hakva.
it won't take long
He'll
for you to arrive.
he'll nod back because they're in public,
With
but
Riker,
instead of
he's gotten to the point where that's bowing is kind of normal.
sorry if we keep interrupting you. Yes, Deb.
It won't take long for you to arrive. She'll walk out of one of the bushes that she didn't walk into.
Hooray!
Yay,
And
we're stepping sideways.
yep. The Bodhisattva does a thing, and all of a sudden everyone's in a nice little bubble of silence, so people can't listen in on this conversation. And he says,
Awesome.
"Hey, it's a thing."
I know, right?
Uh,
That's a more powerful fuddle. That's awesome to him if he wasn't Kale, if he wasn't a little bit angry at the moment.
yeah. And he looks at Kale and he says, "All right, I'd like to put the rumors to rest. What exactly happened?"
As far as I could tell from the security footage, oh, after Michael Springfield left, the day he showed up, or whatever his name is, he wants to go by this week, day, month. Uh, he it he sat down with the group with Arthur and Lillian and Jason. As things were going well, things actually looked like promising, where he might be able to at least unclench around a vampire. Uh, as far as I could tell, they got into an argument. She she instigated a bar fight with an intent to damage another supernatural. And from what I gathered from the security cameras, she almost activated one of her blood magics to do whatever. And now I
Almost activated one of her blood magics out of character. How would you tell she almost activated it?
okay. Let me scratch that.
Actually, if she was interrupted from doing thaumaturgy, she would have started to have been chanting
No,
things.
no, she doesn't have thaumaturgy.
Well,
It was celerity, but she only used celerity 1. In the
Yeah,
scene,
celerity 1 is
but celerity 1 isn't obvious enough.
no, yeah, it's needs to
And you
be
yeah.
don't have the
beyond celerity
kindred
1.
law,
Okay.
and you don't have the kindred law to know that vampires aren't just generally speedy when they want to be.
Well,
Yep.
let me rephrase that. My bad. Uh, generally, given the natural speediness of a vampire, I was afraid she could have done more damage uh, to uh, to my employee who was off that evening for the evening uh, because he had a date.
Right, this could you go through it as to what actually happened?
Oh, crud.
Because at the moment you're saying she instigated a bar fight. How did this happen? What led to this event? Did she simply decide to start smashing bottles and throwing things around, or
So, what I could conceivably tell from the video footage, she wouldn't accept a drink that day he offered her, which usually is a safe practice with my kind, but then especially with his little group of my kind. But he being employed under at my bar would have been told to watch it. Be careful how he does that. If they don't reciprocate, do not push the issue. I thought it was. I believe it was just a normal drink, and because he kept pushing the issue, pushing it. She wouldn't accept it. She went over into his lap and punched him right in the face. Which, knowing with a vampire, uh, their natural strength would have actually could have done more damage than she meant to.
All right. The Bodhisattva is going to clear his throat. He's going to say, "It seems that your establishment has been attracting trouble as of late."
I noticed this. I'm trying to get things under control. Get my patrons and my employees to stop the shenanigans while in my club and at work. It's just they haven't
something
been listening. I'm
something
now ruling with an iron fist now.
something tells me I'm going to have to speak with all of the House of Cups that attend there, and most of the House of Staves. I've already had one issue brought up regarding Adam's behaviour.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Lady Desdemona, I've heard, has already lodged a complaint against him because of a incident with at Master Security.
I'm not entirely sure where the incident took place, but he was less than careful with summoning sunlight around allies who
What?
have
The
difficulty dealing with
the
it.
Bodhisattva actually looks distasteful and says, "Indeed." And he looks at Zhu and says, "I'm going to have to give a speech at the next meeting about friendly fire."
Yes, I've already spoken with Adam on the matter and written a letter expressing apologies that this will have, well, that this has happened. But if he makes this mistake again, it will not be able to be dealt with as lightly.
Indeed.
I called you two
Seem-
because I'm already catching fire with the House of Swords and my own House of House Ilunid because of other issues. I didn't need this.
What are your issues with the House of Swords?
Personal family issues that have been addressed as he slightly adjusts his back a little bit. Um, Nothing that the council needs to worry about. It's just personal family issues.
He
Um,
is going to read your soul.
uh, um, yeah, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna have you roll for that, Ari, because I've seen that dice pool. You basically
He's
see
a fucking bodhisattva. Still, there's a chance he might botch.
yeah. If you want to, go ahead.
Well, I've rolled. It's not showing up. God damn it.
Oh,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 successes. He knows your nature, your demeanor. He knows if you're lying. He knows some deeply kept secrets.
he's an aspirant who basically he likes to learn a lot, and he was lying. He did some very naughty things with Ziva.
All right, and he probably also knows your kinfolk at this point.
Yes.
All right, so he's going to politely not say anything about that, and he's going to say instead, "It is tough being part of multiple families."
Indeed. Other than that, I'm also the same reason as I'm getting catching heat from the House of Swords. The reason somehow reached House Lunid across the mists. So I kind of got in trouble on both sides, and
He
I did not
nods.
really.
He says,
I really didn't need this today.
"Yeah." He nods. He says, "And you have been maintaining the secrecy of the city."
Yes, there was a gray area with one of my waitresses somehow. For some reason, uh, she slipped one of the patrons LSD Mickey, and I fired her right on the spot when I found out about it. Uh, due to the fact uh, afterwards, one of my wolf cousins, he nods to you. You know him, Lady Zhu, as Charlie the Druid of Fiona. Basically, he started acting like he was under attack, and from what heard reports of around the sept, the person in question is now awake. As a will worker.
Oh, him.
Yeah. I wanted give an apology to the guy that wasn't called for. It wasn't one of the things I actually ordered. It was just it was something she wanted to test out because and the fact that she was one of my kind didn't make things better because the next step would have been enchantment, and I immediately when I found out about it, I fired her on the spot.
All right. There's something I'm going to suggest to you. And I hope you, and I'm going to say this as giving you the benefit of the doubt, ensuring that you are not complicit with the actions going on in your house. I'm going to offer you an employee for your bar who has my intimate trust and who can help keep your house in order.
All right. Who's
Okay.
your
He drops the thing. Izumi, come over here.
That's
Not showing anything, damn it.
that's
And
that's a very good recommendation. The tower herself.
What am I being recommended for? Izumi says, looking around.
There have been issues between the houses at the bar. It seems to have become a place where people cause drama amongst themselves.
Interpersonal drama is not my forte, and the Bodhisattva says, yes, but kicking the ass of people who start it is your forte. And she looks at him and says, that's true.
Very true. Charlie has actually spoken very highly of your combat skills.
Izumi chuckles and says, I think he's just impressed that I was able to wrestle with a werewolf 1-to-1.
I think you're aware of the associated sensations with enchantments?
Not personally, but I've been briefed.
There may be issues with enchantments being used, manipulations of people's minds, the general things that people use against one another in subtle manners.
All right. Well, then, she looks at the Bodhisattva, and he nods at her, and she says, well, then having a Kuei-jin employee will do you a lot of good. We're resistant to those sorts of things.
I'd welcome it kindly after the recent events of late.
All right. Yeah, it's the demon within us does not like being manipulated.
Very few people like being manipulated. It tends more to be a point of it being aware of the manipulations being cast upon the rest of you.
Yes, but the demon within has a tendency to shake those things off, unless they're done by other Kuei-jin of our Wu.
My point is simply that there are many that do not appreciate these manipulations, and this seems to be the primary course primary cause of the tensions in the bar. That people are using these manipulations, and others are disliking their effects.
And the Bodhisattva will then answer, then it seems it's the perfect solution. You have someone resistant to the manipulation who can't can handle the problems as they start. He then looks at Riker and he says, I would also recommend you limit your clientele to supernaturals for the next week or so.
Alright. My first intention was actually to have that as a supernatural safe haven, if you will. It's worked very well with my younger sibling in New York, and it's become a trend with our clubs.
Well, this is simply a suggestion, but if these situations continue to occur, we can't risk the general public seeing some of the results of the fight.
Understandable.
So if you limit your clientele for a while, Izumi can act as a bouncer, or you can get a bouncer of your own to limit things to supernaturals at least long enough for Izumi to break up at least one of these incidences. Then that would make me feel better.
All right. As far as Light in last night's concerned, she will be starting on the um, overnight shift because I just pretty much decimated my entire bouncer base on that shift.
Izumi chuckles and says, as long as I don't stay out an hour past sunrise.
That's fine. I really don't need anybody before about 4 to 6 o'clock in the morning. That's because that's when morning shift comes in.
She nods and says, perfect. That gives me enough time to feed and then go to bed. Because I presume there's not going to be any feeding going on in your club.
Actually, as part of this the safe haven, I actually have a private room set up for that.
All right.
Who do you prefer, men?
Izumi chuckles and says, I prefer to have a little bit of justice in my feeding, so I prefer perverts. The Bodhisattva
Okay, that works.
chuckles at that.
That works.
Yeah, it's
There's a few of them in my bar.
Izumi decides to explain further and says, what I tend to do is dress provocatively on a street corner, and as soon as someone propositions me, they get a fangs to the neck.
That works.
Well, presumably there is a difference between a proposition where they expect both parties to be interested in it and one where they care less about the other.
And that's the difference between a little nibble off the top and someone getting a nice sleepover in the hospital from blood loss.
Uh-huh.
And the Bodhisattva chuckles at that again.
As far as last night was concerned, and I've stated my long-term goals with the club. Once we get everything situated, I was actually waiting to be nominated for the Empress position, which that probably is a little bit out of my reach at the moment.
At the moment, yes, it would be.
It would be good to have an empress, but at the same time, you need to prove that you are capable of it. And at the moment, all the signs suggest otherwise.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah, the
which
the
sucks.
Bodhisattva looks thoughtfully, and he says, "You are providing a valuable service to the city, but until you get your house in order, your an official position such as the Empress will be out of your reach. And I'm afraid to say, until your house is in order, no offense to you, but I will be blocking your nomination."
Understood. Alright. I need to probably, at least something, a dampening field situated in the bar to dampen the use of abilities.
Speak to the mages. They're the ones who can do very esoteric things like that.
Uh, I need to talk to one anyway, eventually.
There is
Once,
actually something that I may be able to do. It will require some study on my part, but there is something that I may be able to do to encourage proper behavior.
And don't. Sorry, give me a moment. He looks at you a bit, Riker. Sorry, I've got really bad hiccups right now.
it's alright.
And he says, "Isn't there a ability of your kind to make people follow proper decorum?"
Yeah, it's called Sovereign, and I currently don't have it at the moment. I've been working with Adam on another art that we have.
He nods. "We have a similar ability as well, but the only one in the city at the moment who has it at high enough is myself. And I don't think that I would like to hang out in a bar all night."
No, considering I know you have other things to do as well as being a council member.
Of course. The quest for enlightenment is eternal.
Indeed.
But I will say this. If I have to use that ability at your bar for a night or two, I will. And it will not be very pretty.
I will probably be looking into the mages and seeing if I can get in contact with someone knowledgeable enough to where they can at least imbue the building to where it will do it on its own.
He nods.
Because I don't want that either. That's the main reason
Well,
why I actually
especially
called y'all up here.
because, yeah, especially because obligation. I've used it in open council once or twice, subtly. You may have noticed occasionally when you're in council, you feel that I am in charge.
Yes.
Yes. And using it in council is one thing. But using it in an open place, especially an open environment, you're trying to maintain a certain atmosphere in,
It
will
really
not
doesn't
be
work
very
that
nice.
well.
No, it will not be nice.
uh,
It's kind of hilarious getting free things with it, though.
yeah.
Izumi actually bursts out laughing at that.
Although would have just, and most of the bartenders would have just probably did that for you anyway.
Try getting alcohol at my age.
That's never mind.
Izumi chuckles and says, I have a hard time getting alcohol at my age. And the Bodhisattva looks at her and says, yes, and I'm almost 1,000 times older than you.
Right. Oh, Lord.
So, Izumi, after you drop me off, you're to report to Riker's bar. And she gives a salute. And the Bodhisattva looks at Riker and says, I hope that measures can be taken before measures need to be taken.
I'll be looking into the measures and be taking them as soon as I'm able.
Perfect. Oh, and you will be paying Izumi for her time.
I'm already pulling out the cell phone, already on the ball with payroll.
All right. Perfect. Izumi, we're leaving. And he gets up and walks on over to the motorcycle. And Izumi gives Riker a bow and
He'll
heads
bow
off
back.
to drive the Bodhisattva home.
Alright. That went well. And Riker will bow to Zhu and say, Lady Zhu, it's always a pleasure. But I have been set forth duties by the Bodhisattva that need to be dealt with immediately.
Yes, they're all quite important issues to deal with. I'll need to speak with the individuals involved as soon as possible. If you have their contact details, then that would be helpful.
I know Michael's contact information, but that doesn't help. I have Dahi or whatever his name is for the week. He gives you his phone number. He might answer to another D name. Just go with it. Other than that, I don't really talk with Lillian that much. And I have not actually met with Mr. Wainwright in person that I know of or remember. I only heard his name on the cameras.
Right, I shall endeavour to speak with the Speaker for the House of Staves and see if she has any information on these individuals.
All right.
If I could have access to the video footage to see it myself, that would be very helpful.
I have access to it, or Lady Dextra, who's I believe is the current devil, has it as well because she's the head of my security, for at least the electronic security, the cameras and such.
Then I shall see about contacting her as well.
Boy, that's going to be very easy.
Yes.
I'm sorry this is set up so people's characters kind of have to interact to a certain degree, but...
Yeah.
Deb's a big assistant ST. She can handle it.
I
Yeah.
can handle it, yeah.
And not to mention, your characters probably actually gave each other's phone numbers.
Actually,
Yeah.
considering that in open council people can play multiple characters at once, just by the virtue.
Of needing to be in the same room, yes.
Yeah, so that everyone can be in the same thing. So
Yeah. I'm not saying I can't play two things in the same scene. I just don't tend to like to take over the scene that way.
Yeah.
I know,
If
but
the players
hey,
are all
there's
practice and stuff.
there's times it needs to happen, and
Yeah.
but anyways, I think that's scene.
All right. Okay.
You're still
Oh, sorry.